Welcome to After Wine School, the podcast that demystifies wine and makes it approachable for everyone. Join Keith Wallace and Alana Zerbe, two of the nation's leading wine experts, as they uncork everything you need to know about wine, from picking the right bottle to mastering unforgettable food and wine pairings. This isn't about stuffy lectures or confusing jargon. It's about enjoying wine the way it's meant to be. So grab a glass and let's dive in. Don't forget to subscribe to After Wine School today.
Welcome to After School, the wine podcast.
What's the topic today, Keith?
It is going to be the down and dirty secrets of wine pricing.
I like it.
It's going to be interesting.
Folks, we will be sampling a wine from Cahors at the end of the podcast. It's from Chateau Chambert. I'm going to show you the bottle this way and then hand that to Keith.
Well, fantastic. All right. Well, if you don't mind, I'll pour that in a second. Let's talk.
Before we get into it,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
you're anxious.
Yeah.
I'm Alana Zerbe. I'm the Director of Wine Education at the Wine School of Philadelphia, here with my partner, Keith Wallace, who's the Director and Founder of the Wine School of Philadelphia. We are sponsored by the National Wine School, the premier online educator for sommeliers. And they have asked us to give a nice disclaimer at the top of our podcast that says our opinions and viewpoints are solely our own and do not reflect the opinions or viewpoints of anybody else, certainly not the National Wine School or even the Wine School of Philadelphia.
There you go. I think NWS, I just shortened it. I think we use their programming at the school itself, and I think they're great. And that's, yeah, too.
Okay, great.
I'm just saying. Let's talk about it. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. Wine pricing. All right. Now, do you have any questions for me about it?
Well, I think, number one, shopping for wine is incredibly difficult.
Oh, yes.
Biggest things that's an impediment is pricing, understanding what goes into pricing, what makes a bottle worthwhile, what doesn't.
Do you want to watch the reasons why we price wines in a certain way?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you're good for, is the behind the scenes industry.
Good for, yeah, that's, at least I'm good
Something
for,
you're good for.
I'm glad I'm good for something here
Yeah.
in this professional relationship. But all right. Hey, all right. So one of the things we start with, if you're talking about pricing, like you have to think about not as a consumer, but like you're actually in the winery and you're having to think about a few things. Sometimes it's even better because wine is, has such a prestige and everyone loves it. And it's hard to think about it pragmatically. So let's think about it like you're making a new type of soda, right? So it's a new soda you've come up with, you're starting, right? Now, it's a boutique soda, so you can charge anything you want. Here's what you do. You have to figure out how much it's going to cost to make it.
Right.
You need to figure out that, because that's everything from, your ingredients to the manufacturing line, to the people, to the insurance, your truckers, everything that costs, right? Everything. And then you got to figure out a couple things. Okay, then you also have to figure out, who do you want to compete against? Who do you want buying it? Now, do you want to just have it like a very inexpensive soda where, like, say, you're competing against like the, not Coca-Cola, but like, like the generic sodas, like, okay, that's a market. That's a big market. You probably can make a lot of money. You may not make not much profit per bottle of soda, but you would make a massive amount of money if you could sell it across the country. Your margin's small, but you make a lot of it and you could just, rake in the cash. That's one way of doing it. Other ways, competing at like, with the name brands, right there in the middle. But if you really want to compete and build a really big reputation, become one of the best sodas there are, right? And then you can say, okay, I'll charge this amount. Maybe you have all three. You have the really cheap soda, the standard price soda, and then the really expensive soda. The truth is, it might cost you about the same to make each of those. But you're setting it at a different price. Just maybe, that really high-end soda you're making, maybe it doesn't cost you that much more money to make it. But you're going to have a different advertising, you're going to have a different label, and you're going for a different market, right?
Right.
The person who wants that soda wants a little bit, when they show the bottle, everyone goes, ooh,
Mhm.
fancy soda.
Mm.
But then the people who are buying the very, very inexpensive, they just want the soda because they're going to make a cocktail with it or they're just going to drink it. They're not trying to show off. Now, that's exactly what it is in wine.
Okay.
So you are maybe spending more money making the high-end bottle of wine, but most of that price is actually profit. At the very low end, you have very little profit, but you're making a lot more of it. So it really depends. So this is how we think of things. So if you take that framework, a winery is going to have to think about what the audience is first, and then how to make that wine. So that's first thing, right? Understand that, and go ahead. If you ever go into a wine shop, you'll notice this. Like there are basically 3 tiers. Well, there's 4 tiers. There's the value, there's the middle tier, then there's the luxury tier, and then there's like the super luxury, which are the crazy amount of money.
Give a
Okay,
ballpark.
sure,
Yes.
because we're talking right now, 2024. And so these numbers, depending on inflation, will change. But right now, what you expect that this is pretty much across the board that $15 and under are this is your, well, let's say 18 and under right now. That's your middle range.
Mhm.
Now under $10 and under, that's your value brand. And then typically, 20, 25 and above, that's luxury. So that's your tip.
25 and above?
Yeah, typically. Yeah, then super premium is above that.
Okay.
That's when you're hitting $50, $100. Yeah, no, that's because everything gets, super luxury and premium. Everything ends up, that ends up. But here's the thing. Those numbers change depending on what grape it is and what area it's from. So, for instance, the more famous a place is for fine wine, the more expensive it is going to be. That's because the grapes are going to cost more. Because, when something is famous, everything costs more. Land starts costing more because more winemakers want to buy property there. Therefore, the grapes start being more expensive when you're buying them. And everything increases in cost. The winemakers and even all employees, they're expecting more because now property costs are more. Your rent is higher. So, you have to be paid more. Versus we can get really amazing wines. Like say if you're going from right now, Napa, crazy expensive. Like just to play the game, you expect to spend $100, $200 for a bottle. Whereas a similar comparable bottle of wine, say from Walla Walla in Columbia Valley in Washington, well, maybe the same value is going to hit around $50 in today's money, a quarter of the price. And then we can get the exact same bottle of amazing going to Chile and even less. So it really depends on where it's from, what the costs of production there are too. So this does change, but you will typically in any wine region, you'll notice there's basically 3 to 4 tiers of pricing. And so that's, that's a little confusing. That's why I use the soda at the beginning. Following that is actually you just understand that, you are, depending on where you were at, there's going to be sadly, in Burgundy, your basic economy is $25.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I mean, it's very expensive in Burgundy. Bordeaux is pretty much the same.
Okay. So what do we do with this?
All right. Let's just say famous regions, well known for expensive wines, they're always going to cost more. So yes, you're paying more for less wine. That's it, flat out. Where I worked was in Italy, and we did a Chianti Ruffino and a Chianti Classico. Now the Ruffino is an area that's not nearly as famous, but it was better wine that we made. So our Chianti Classico was more expensive than our Ruffino. Why? Because it was more famous, not because it was better. So one thing, right? Find regions that are not nearly as famous that are well known for the same grape, right? That's one thing. Also, just look, if you are, depending on what you want. Now, I always recommend that if you want to have a simple fruit-forward wine, never spend more than $10 because that's the price range. You're paying $10 or under, you're getting a fruity wine.
If you're going to mix it with sangria,
Oh, God.
then Chateau Petrus.
Oh, please. Oh, God. That was
Sorry,
a
I
story
had
for a
to
long
bring it
time
up
ago.
to bring it up. Learned.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yes.
That was, yes, I think that was in Cannes. That was amazing.
So if you're
Yeah.
going to adulterate it
Yeah.
in some way, a cocktail, sangria, don't,
Yeah. Or if you just want a glass of wine, like restaurant style wine, those are just a couple flavors. You're not looking for, you're looking just for, enjoyable glass of wine. That's it.
Mhm.
That's you're spending. Don't spend more than that. That's your everyday wine. They're designed for that. As a winemaker, I gotta say, I did make fine wine, but one of my strengths was that I also can produce inexpensive wines and make them really taste good. Like
Mhm.
that was actually a core part of being a winemaker, is making those value lines taste delicious that everyone likes. Because that's the winery makes the most money on those, by volume.
Mhm.
So those. And so that's great, but there's 2 or 3 flavors. That's it. Or, one big fruit flavor. My favorite wines, though, the wines that most winemakers, and if you look at winemakers, you look at sommeliers,
Mhm.
they're not wealthy. They're middle class,
Mhm.
distinctly middle class.
You're not supposed to ask me a question.
Are you more happy to make something, for you and your friends, or for people who are wealthier than you? Like if you're making something, like let's just say you're making an egg
God,
sandwich.
yeah.
Do you want to make something for your people or
Yes.
super bougie people who are just gonna right?
I mean, I have some bougie people in my friend group, but definitely my friends.
So if you're middle class, upper middle class,
And they're
winemaker.
annoying, by the way.
Well, yeah. Oh God, yes. Oh yeah. As a rule of thumb, what you're saying, yes, all your friends are annoying. I agree. But boom,
Not all.
boom.
Not all.
Okay.
Okay.
So as a winemaker, you make wines, and wine buyers and sommeliers buy wines and typically want to feature wines that they like themselves, that they love. And so the mid tier, and maybe whether that's $15 or $20 or $30, depending on where you are, like that mid tier is where winemakers, they're not spending a lot of money on the magic, like the oak, and not adding mega purple to things, which is an additive we use to increase the body and sugar content of the wines. We're not doing things like that. What we're doing is making authentic, delicious wines that we like, that they represent the place, that they taste like the grape they're supposed to. We're not trying to impress rich people by doing magic tricks. We're not adding additional oak. We're not over extracting our wines. We're just making absolutely professional, perfect wines. Right? That's what we're doing. So that's and that it's that middle tier. And honestly, that's the tier that, they don't have, because they don't have so much oak. You can understand them more. They're not too fruit forward. They're perfect. And also what we use in school too. Like when I'm sourcing wines for our professional programs, they all are just from that tier because they're the perfect wines.
Right.
They're just trying to be authentically awesome.
So how do you find those?
Okay. So it's the price, first off. Looking at whatever region you are. So let's just say you're standing in the wine shop. You're looking at all the Chianti Classicos, right? And specifically just the Chianti Classicos. All right. So let's just look at all those. Let's find what's the highest price point. What's the lowest price point? What's the median price? You find that median price of that specific group. That's the price where you want to be around there, like within 10, 20%.
Okay.
So if you're a math geek,
Okay.
this is it, right? You want the median price of what you're seeing. That's the wine of the Chianti Classicos. It's around $22-ish, $23 right now. Yes. So that $23, that's it. Okay, first off, then the next step is, am I looking at a winery that is independently owned or corporately owned? And the reason I want to look at that is because corporate owned, all right, they're going to have more additional costs. So marketing, PR, more layers of business. So that wine is not going to be as good a value, perhaps. So what I want is I want to go down. I want to see that independent winery. Something, if you see, a brand you've heard of, well, that's probably a very large scale brand. It's very high volume. It's in every store. And then you look at, like, oh, I haven't heard of that. Just look it up quickly. Just Google it, do good search on it, see if it's, now if it's only available at that specific store, if it's like a chain, Don't buy it. That's just what's
Yeah.
called a control brand. So then you get rid of the control brands, not something that's owned by that store, which there are such things. Get rid of all the corporate owned stuff, and then what you have left are like these small little producers. And we do have another. And then after that, the third step will do is I'll look at that, and then I'll say, hey, has it gotten any good reviews? And so we have in the feed, either coming up or before, I'm not exactly sure if we've posted yet, about how important it is if you're a new wine buyer, for ratings.
Yeah.
This is where you'd find that rating, and those data points is where you'd find that perfect bottle of wine. That works so well that I can walk in without even knowing any of the producers
Mm-hmm.
and find it. That's a good way to start looking, just starting by price point. And one of the things that people always do, and this is one of the things, as having taught so long and reviewing what people are buying, because we have students who will buy wine and say, is this a good wine? Is this rightly correct? Either they go too expensive or they go too cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone seems to be really shy away from the mid-tier, but that's where the best values are. And the best wines, in my opinion, are.
So when would you spend a little bit more? When would you go up to that luxury tier?
Oh, well, you go to luxury when you want to turn off your brain and then just enjoy something.
Mm.
Because as winemakers, what we're doing is we're adding layers of new oak, which is bringing in all kinds of spicy flavors. We're working on texture so that the wine no longer is just simply delicious, but also like we're really tying in on, and you can only do that with only a few barrels. That means that you're touching those barrels yourself and maintaining that consistently. And also you're probably selecting very specific barrels because they're higher quality.
Okay.
Because that's also that there's real variability in your different barrels. So you're paying for that hand touch. Yes. Yeah.
If you are somebody who intends to age wine,
Yeah.
would you recommend a certain price point?
Well, aging is such a hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole different topic. Any red wine could be aged for 3 years to 5 years without any problem.
After Wine School is proudly supported by the National Wine School, the gold standard in professional wine certifications. Whether you're dreaming of a career in the wine industry or just eager to take your wine knowledge to the next level, the National Wine School has you covered. Their programs are trusted, rigorous, and designed for aspiring wine pros like you. Visit wineschool.us to learn more and start your journey today.
Because it's very hard. That would take a half an hour to talk about like aging. So let's do that let's put a pin on that one.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, that's a great idea. No, you do come up with the best ideas for the podcast. But did I cover everything about pricing, or is there anything else?
Well, I think so.
Yes.
What I think I heard you say was that mid-tier if you walk into a wine shop
Yes.
and you're interested in a Sangiovese-based wine.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been to Chianti, so you're going to be loyal to Chianti Classico. That's the
Yeah.
stalwart of the region. So you take a look, you see the range, and then you
Yes.
kind of focus in the mid
Yes.
tier of
Yep.
that range.
Yes.
And then you're also going to want to check and make sure that it is not a big company,
Right.
that it is a smaller producer.
Yes.
Check on some ratings.
Absolutely. And that's just a down and dirty way. Now, it's not saying that all large producers are making inferior product. It's just that if I'm sending somebody in there, I want them to get the best possible wine the fastest possible with the least amount of knowledge
Mhm.
that they need to actually consistently get great wines.
And so I'm going to ask you if you were gifting a wine.
No, but it's okay. It's
such
true.
a- but
It's also
no,
about
let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what I recommend is if I am giving you a bottle of wine, not you personally, that would be terrible. I have to spend a lot of money because you would know what I'm saying. But if there's somebody in my friend group and one of the more annoying people who I just really want to give an FU to,
Mhm.
I would give them something that I knew they would like, but also is just trash. Like, it's just like, oh, you're going to like this because it's trash and expensive. And this is just a big, like, FU, you don't even care about wine. You just care about getting drunk and seeming like you're fancy. Like, screw you, man. There's that wine.
Mhm.
That's that wine. And I mean, and that wine is it starts with V
Yeah. Okay.
and then
Sure.
Okay, edit it out.
Yes.
And then, but but what I want, so that's the funny way of, or like the mean thing to do. But the truth is, I do want to know what the person, what is going that they're gonna love.
Mhm.
Like, what is that thing? And almost, I mean, uniformly, if I'm gonna something, or something that just they don't know about, but they would absolutely fall in love with. Like, so, like someone who is really into, Napa Cat or Cabernet, I'm gonna find it like a baller Priorat to gift them.
Mm.
So I want to, like you always want to go up. Like that's when you do want to have that wine that is the luxurious tasting and feel
Yep.
and that thing.
Sure.
So wherever it is, you look at, and how you can figure out how much to spend. What's the median price? And either double that or triple that,
Mhm.
depending on what you are. And here's the thing, and it's what you're comfortable. Don't ever buy wine that you're not comfortable. For a gift, sure, it should be a little uncomfortable. It should hurt a little bit for a good, real gift. But
What about people who judge you
yeah,
for liking a less expensive wine?
well, there's a whole thing on Reddit. Am I an asshole? And the answer always is NTA. You're not the asshole to give them a shitty bottle of wine, right? If someone judges you, and okay, so can I tell a story?
Yes.
Okay, so I had this really snooty friend, kind of friend, and I had to go to her wedding
Mhm.
and I had a gift. So what and they were pretty terrible.
Oh, we can't tell this story.
You know who I'm talking about. Oh, yes.
That's a dark secret. I'm sorry, Keith. I didn't think that was going to impact me, but it
All right. Okay, fine. Done.
You've done, yeah. That
Okay, these are say
shenanigans.
right, shenanigans. Okay, so the people who judge you, of course they don't judge me. I'm the wine guy. I can
Right.
show up with a screw top cap bottle and everyone will think it's amazing.
Mhm.
But yeah, you are that person who's going to judge you.
What's the quick retort to that? How do you shut somebody down?
Oh, well, first off, you don't give them wine. Like you don't if you're sending a gift, you
Mhm.
don't give them wine. You give them a beer, like a really expensive
Mhm.
beer, something like that.
Mhm.
Never do the thing that they know. Or you gotta go, really obscure, like super obscure, or find, you know, Google, like find a Napa winemaker who has a project in some obscure place.
The country,
Country.
not the Pennsylvania county.
No, yes, I don't think anyone from the Madavi family is working at Lebanon Bologna, which would be hilarious. It'd be the most expensive bologna ever.
Stolzfus Cabernet.
Oh God, oh God.
Okay, I'll stop.
That's you get to a real narrow band of, yeah. So yeah, if anyone here is actually from Pennsylvania and got that reference, let me know. Because I think it's going to be out of everybody, like one. It's probably you in the comments. So yeah, like that. Go obscure.
Mhm.
That, but also like, yeah, again, gifts are hard. Just
Yeah.
triple the price you're comfortable, like the mid-tier, triple what you typically pay for yourself. That's what you pay. Just it's more important about what it looks like, or if you can find that perfect bottle. Like, here's the thing that I tend to do: if you don't know, feel the bottle. If it's heavy, has a really good label, then whoever is going to drink it, if
That's
you
a
know
good
they're going to
one.
pop it, drink it, boom, that's it.
Yeah.
Sadly, as a winemaker, I know if I'm doing a high tier wine, I always would use a super heavy bottle because it just feels more expensive. And you make sure you have gold on that label and it's embossed and it looks very expensive. Like that goes a long way. And so one of those things, that's where if the bottle has those bottles, like they're so big and they have all that embossing on the label and the bottle itself.
Yes.
Oh, it's very impressive. So you go for bling.
Okay.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
And that's what anyone can figure out. You look, oh, it's expensive and it feels expensive and it looks expensive. Then yeah. Especially if you're going to drink it right then. But if you know someone who's just going to take it and they're going to Google how much you paid for it and you have to impress them, then you have to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's the gifting thing is if someone's going to Google it, the value is on how much it usually costs. But this is one of those things where if you are smart about things, you can get onto like one of the discount websites that they'll be selling specific wines. And they usually only sell them, like, they'll like be a month where they sell them at a 50% discount. If you buy a case of those wines, that website, those prices will disappear within a month. Now you have a cachet of expensive wines that you didn't pay, you paid half price or whatever for, and those are what you gift. So then when they look it up, it looks like instead of spending 50, you spent 100. So that's impressive, like, ooh, so that's, if you're
That's a good hack.
Scottish, it's a good act. Yes. And I have a bunch of like these amazing bottles of 2012 Syrah from Victoria in Australia, just absolutely amazing wines that I must have spent like $30 for. But if you look it up, it's like $200. And that's we use for the school. Like I use a lot. That's a technique I do use for the school too, because when you're buying for a wine school and you're buying, $250,000 of wine annually, which is that's a lot of money, but that's what you're paying for. You want to get a maximum amount, so the best wines for the best possible price. And so that's another technique that I'll use is, so just to make sure I can give our students far better wines than they're paying for in the class. So that when they go home and they look at it, they're like, I can't believe I just had that one.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing. That's just, and there's all kinds of ways of figuring out how to do that. But yeah, that online retail tends to be a very good place for, if you want to buy low and give high.
I love it.
The brain sometimes it says smart things.
But, well, anything else?
No. I just want to stress once again,
Yes.
if you're buying for yourself, never spend more than you want to.
Yes.
Because if it hurts, it's never going to be good enough. Be happy with it. Be happy at the price point. Because there's people who are out there who can spend $200 and be not happy. And there's going to be the rest of us who are like, if it's more than $20 or $20 or more, and we didn't like it, that hurts. Like, that's not fun. That destroys it. But if it's just always spend what you want and be okay if you don't like it, like that's the price you want to spend.
Yeah.
Until you build more knowledge and learn more, and you just know. The thing is, the more you know, the more you like, and the more you like, the more you understand what's correct and what's possible and what's normal. And the more you can, you're just able to have a much larger breadth of enjoyment. Like, there are $8 balls I love, and there's $100 balls that I hate.
Speaking of a breath of enjoyment.
Oh, that's right.
Here's some of our wine.
Oh, that's right. The Cahors. I am a Cahors for Cahors. All right. So talking about like pricing. So one of the things, just knowledge helps a lot, is that Cahors it was the part of Southwest France that is right below Bordeaux. It was actually the place that actually really was making Bordeaux style wines long before Bordeaux was making high end wines, and they've maintained it now, but they're the OG, and they're using the original grape of Bordeaux, which is, as we all know, everyone knows this, Malbec.
Inside joke there. Yeah. So
Well,
I'm
yes.
getting a lot of cherry tobacco, like pipe
Yeah.
tobacco.
Oh,
right?
yep. But that so tobacco, those notes also are the same as cedar. Like there's elements of cedar in there
Or-
that actually. So this is what usually is called cigar box.
Yes.
But if you're fancy like me, you call it cigar box.
But we did talk about this earlier. It's deep dark fruit,
Yes.
black currant.
Oh my God, this is great. But the interesting thing, so I'm going to taste this now, because this is, and by the way, I'm going to make a big old slurping noise.
Okay, misophonia warning.
Now, I'm not saying I have a troubled life, but it's very hard on camera to have a mustache and drink wine without like making a complete mess.
You're okay.
I'm okay. I'm fine.
Push through.
Yes,
Push through.
I am. I'm going to
So
get
what are you
there.
tasting?
Well, I had to joke a little bit because there was so much going on, and I just wanted to have a little moment to think about it. So the attack, lovely. Like, it starts off red fruit, then goes to dark. So there's a surprising bright freshness, and you have to think. Right? I mentioned this is Malbec, but you have to purge your idea, purge your brain of Argentinian Malbecs, because that's not what this is. It's a different clone. It's one of the original clones. I don't even know if they have this clone in Argentina, but it's leaner, it's brighter, it's fresher, more complex, more Cabernet Franc-like, and it's, in fact, it's the parent of like one of the OG Carbonats in this area too. I forget the name of it. I can picture it, but I can't think of the name of it. And it's like also the parent of Carmenere is in this area too. But anyways, I digress. It's just beautiful. It's elegant. It's very Bordeaux-like.
It is very Bordeaux.
This is where I will always send people. A great Cahors will be $20, whereas a similar Bordeaux, the same quality, will be $30.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing about knowing more about wine. Cahors is the OG Bordeaux. This is where things really started. The Malbec right from here predates Cabernet Sauvignon, and knowing that they're doing the same style and they have the same classical rendering, and they're using similar oak profiles, same types of oak, same winemaking styles. All of that creates this wonderful version, this like bizarro world Bordeaux. And it's not Bordeaux, but it is very similar and much more price, so
If this is new to you,
Yes.
this is a new wine you haven't had, definitely recommend it. It has actually some nice acidity that actually
yes.
enables you to do some really good food pairings. So
Yeah.
experiment, treat yourself.
Yeah. What would you pair with this, by the way?
Ooh, probably venison.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Lebanon,
So now the funny thing is this is going to gross everyone out, but like there's the classic Bordelaise meal. It's also a very classic Basque meal because we're pretty close to the Basque
this is
region here.
intense.
Do you know?
I know to say.
Yeah, that is intense. It's hard. I mean, the first time I ever had that, social pressure is such that I actually completed my whole bowl of it. But that first hit was not, but by the end, I was really loving it, especially with the wine. So yeah, big deal.
Yeah, the intensity. You're
Oh,
matching the
The
intensity.
intensity and flavors,
Yeah.
and it'll just rise like that because that is a great pairing. But if you're not a sick bastard like I am,
Mhm.
you want to do something a little, okay, well, honestly, if I just did like a simple filet mignon,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because it has no fat, nothing, just good protein, finished with a little bit of salt
Mhm.
and maybe a little bit of like smoked butter on top. That's it.
Mhm.
This would be perfect.
Smoked butter.
Yeah.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, I think we've done a good job of covering the basics
We
of
did.
pricing. There's so much more we could
Oh,
go into.
and it's so hard. And I apologize. I mean, I do recommend people, go back, listen, because it's the most important thing.
Mhm.
It's hard. It's confusing.
Mhm.
It's not how you want to think about wine. It hurts your brain a little bit. But once you get over that, it makes your life in wine buying so much easier. And also you understand the wine market so much more. And, honestly, you'll actually, if your goal ever is to be in the wine trade, or even just to like be closer and just be attached to the wine trade, just going visiting wineries, it'll help you understand, also help you communicate with people in the trade. Because
So
yeah.
I'm trying to wrap us up because there is a blinking light. Oh, let's say thank you for joining us.
All right,
Leave a
fantastic.
comment. Tell your friends. Cheers, folks. Until
Cheers,
we meet
folks.
again.
Cheers.
Thanks for spending time with us on After Wine School. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit subscribe so you never miss out on more wine wisdom, tips, and laughs. Until next time, raise your glass, savor the moment, and cheers to you.